In this video, we'll look at a specific use case of drawing on iPad when trying to improve an urban design. So we have this image over here in Canada Water in London. I've been along the street myself, and as you can see, it has these new urban dwelling houses made out of brick, really nice materiality and texture. But I think the street itself is lacking the character and the kind of warmness and attractiveness about it, especially in the nighttime. It feels very bleak. Part of it is this facade over here, which is this used shopping center. And also I feel like some of these buildings could have a better ground connection. So in a situation like that, it's quite handy to have a picture that we can use as a background. And then on top of that, we can start drawing revised or improved design proposal. I'll use my medium brush for that. And I'll start with looking at the ways how we can improve this. So one idea that I had is, hypothetically speaking, we could have an opening through this facade over here, have more of a welcoming presence. I also thought it might be quite nice to introduce a bit more planting and seating area in this location. There is some already, as you can see here, but I think we can have a bit more than that. So we can continue and build on the existing theme. And to continue this idea of introducing green spaces all over, I could continue with populating the upper levels. And then we also have this elevation right here, which could be improved. Now, a kind of radical idea that I have is to probably get rid of that facade altogether. It's not very welcoming, and introduce more of a human scale to it. Now, by human scale, I mean literally an active frontage. These buildings that I'm going to draw here will follow division lines on these panels, and I will introduce these shop fronts along. The actual building above can be any height. For the purposes of this, I'll say it'll be about 4 stories high, and it will follow the kind of traditional tenement arrangement. Perhaps one of these shop fronts can have a little canopy extending over, like so, and a little sort of barriers that invite people over and delineate the ownership of that business. And what's missing here at the moment is, although this is completely walkable area, I think we can do a little bit better by actually defining the extent of the pavement so that we can have a clear awareness of where pedestrians should walk, but then at the same time also having perhaps a cycle path along this track over here. So all of this would be pretty much pedestrian, except this area would be designated for cyclists. I can start adding several kind of divisions to these frontages and also start showing windows above. Again, using the panels that I have of the shopping center as guides for this design. I'm doing this very roughly because the second pass will be establishing the perspective and sort of following through this a little bit neater. Might add just a few more trees along here. I think this is pretty lively already compared to how it was before, like this is the starting point, and then if we add more stuff into this in a kind of coherent way, it becomes a bit more welcoming. One thing that I would like to change a little bit is introduce the kind of surface variation. We have quite a wide street here, so it makes sense to perhaps have kind of delineation in the middle of it of what it is and kind of expressed a bit more clearly. So I'll have these slabs in the middle following the street, but also breaking up the materiality. This first pass, I'm not worried at all about how they look like. It's just literally figure out if I'm happy with this. I think I am. Okay, next up, what we can do, we'll introduce a drawing guide and edit it to set the perspective up. Keep the perspective grid on, create a new layer on top, then reduce the opacity of the layer beneath and also of our base image underneath. And then for the second pass, I'll use my brush tool. There's a download link below if you want to get the same brushes for your drawing. I'll use these brushes and I'll enable the snap to allow me to connect the lines that I have previously drawn, make them a little bit more intentional. I'll start this side of the composition with drawing shopfront first because it has the kind of features that aren't shown on the other one. So, I know that the buildings on the background are going to be the way they're going to be. Because this one is somewhat special, I just want to make sure that the level of detail that I want to show is conveyed correctly. So the thickness of the awning, this end bit, kind of a fine balance of not showing too many lines because it will take away from the drawing, but at the same time I do want to convey design intent. So I'll just continue using the same datum line for the fascia its thickness underneath, and the kind of awning box datum as well to continue with the other shop fronts. At the top here, I'm just kind of individually drawing window by window to do something that is similar to the buildings opposite, where they use the kind of more geometric pattern and breaking down the facade, but I think individually drawn windows add a little bit more character to the drawing itself. Since I'm here, I might as well use these guidelines to show the paving slabs. And then let's get some life into these trees as well, starting from the closest. Once I'm reasonably happy with the foliage, I can proceed with the texture for the roads. I'll start with the cycling path, and I'll draw a curb in detail at the closest point to me, and then as it fades out, the subdivisions and the lines can become less until they fade completely. See here that my perspective is slightly different from the existing, but I think that's okay because it gets kind of too far to tell. And the point of this is really to show the design intent rather than worrying about absolute accuracy of this drawing. Finish off with some texture. I might also try and draw a cyclist on the layer above. The eye level height I'll assume is more or less the same, so I'll draw his head first, and then a slanty line for the back, two hands, the leg, and these two wheels. Let's not forget about the benches at the back. I might as well just trace over these existing trees to add a bit more definition to them. And then this middle section of the textured slab. Let's increase the brightness or opacity of the background layer a little bit. And what I'll do is I'll just add a kind of notional outline around these buildings just to make them a bit more part of the composition. I think this starts to look pretty good. I'm not that interested in this side part of the drawing, so I'll just kind of get rid of that. And I'll crop the image. Might increase the opacity of the bottom image even more, and to compensate where I have lines, I'll create a new layer and I'll fill that area in white color so that design intent drawing pops to foreground. Well, over here. In a drawing like this, I sometimes like to have description text so I know what my main design moves were, so I'll add that text in as well. If you like these sort of videos that demonstrate design process using narration, then let me know in the comments. Check out some other videos on my channel. I produce content weekly to help interior designers and architects to draw with confidence and do so fast using digital drawing tools like iPad. And don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss any future videos. Until next time, bye bye.